Final lesson of Unit 8, as you can see, it's called Finding Rational Roots. But if you read the instructions down here, it says use the rational zeros theorem to find any rational roots. What's another word for roots? Answers or solutions. If it has at least one, solve it completely, which means maybe there's more rational roots, but there may be some irrational roots. We're going to talk about that as we go through some of these problems. So, I'm going to add something. All this plus or minus. Again, I really recommend that you guys listen to the pre-lessons. If you're not, then some of this might just kind of go over your head and be confusing. But the pre-lessons are just my ways of trying to make things a little more clear. And if you're skipping them, I think some of this will just be a little too confusing. But what I use is plus or minus p all over q. Now this is my p, all the factors of that constant. Q comes from here, so that's my q. So if I start with that formula, the formula says make a list of all your see, this will give you all your possibilities. By no way does this solve the problem for you, but it gets it kick-started by giving you a whole bunch of possibilities. So if you watch the pre-lesson, that will make sense. So I go here and I say, okay, I'm going to go plus or minus. Now, what are all the factors of 6? 1, 2, 3, 6. And then I go all over. What are all the factors of 1? Well, that's just 1. And again, why don't I put plus or minus in the denominator with the q? It's just overkill. It just is. So all you need is the plus or minus in the numerator. You don't really need it in the denominator. It'll take care of itself. So this is saying my possible rational roots are plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, plus or minus 6, because everything over 1 is just, it doesn't change it. And there's no other way of doing it. You got to get started by just plugging them in. So 1 cubed is 1. 1 times negative 7 is negative 7 minus 6. Did that work? No. So now we're going to try our negative 1. Just plug it in. Negative 1 cubed is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 7 is 7 minus 6. And voila. Does that equal 0? Yes. So look at, we found a rational root, or an answer that is rational. So I want to give you guys a hint. If the power of your original problem is a 3, that means there's going to be 3 answers. I'll throw that in for free. And see, we've already found 1. And this says, if it has at least 1, solve it completely. In other words, find the other ones. Now you could just keep plugging stuff in. But remember, there might be some irrational answers. So I'm going to skip that and just say, all right, this is why you learned synthetic division. We're going to put that answer in our chipmunk nest right there. And then we're going to use synthetic division, but there's a red flag special. Notice there is no x squared, so we got to think of it as 0x squared. So my coefficient of this one's a 1. That one's a 0. That's a negative 7. That's a negative 6. Now watch this carefully. Drop the 1, multiply, negative 1, add. Multiply, 1, negative 6. Multiply, 6. Notice this plus this is 0, and that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have a remainder because this is one of your solutions. It goes into it evenly, in other words. So what does this spit out? Remember the rules of synthetic division. If my highest power is a 3, I drop that down to a 2. So I'm going to rewrite it over here. So I got x squared. In other words, that's 1x squared minus 1x minus 6. Now look at, I'm going to take advantage of this 0 and just look at it like equals 0. Now I've got 3 possibilities. I can factor this if it's factorable. I can complete the square if that's my jam. Or I could use the quadratic formula. Now this is clearly the easiest fastest way to go if it's factorable. And if you look at this one, you'd say, aha, this is factorable. So x times x, two factors of -6 to f to -1, that'd be -3 and +2. What are my two additional solutions? 3 or -2. Now I want you guys to look. Rational, rational. So this is a 3, this is a -2, and I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, I didn't have to do all that. I could have just kept plugging these in and I would have found them. You're right. But on this next example, or the next one, you're going to see that that won't work on every single problem. So let's go to example 2. Again, I can see all this. Here's my p. So remember, we're using plus or minus p all over q. There's going to be a lot of factors of 12. Plus or minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Now you don't have to plug these all in. You just have to find one of them. But then, good news, there's a 1 there. So I could put this all over 1, but does that really change anything? No. So we love it when there's a 1. Notice this next example, it's going to be a 2. That's going to mess things up a little bit. Let's go back to this. So now we have our list of possible rational roots. So there's no other way of going around it. We got to just plug them in. 1 cubed is 1. 1 squared is 1 times -4 is -4. -3 times 1 is -3. Plus 12. Does that look like it equals 0? No. Now we plug in -1. -1 cubed is -1. -1 squared is 1 times -4 is -4. -1 times -3 is +3. Plus 12. That does not equal 0. Sometimes this happens. 2 cubed is 8. 2 squared is 4 times -4 is -16. 2 times -3 is -6. Plus 12. Let's take a good look. Oh, we got close. That's 20, and this is -22. We got so close. Plug in -2. -2 cubed is -8. -2 squared is 4 times -4 is -16. Kind of can tell that this one's not going to work. Plus 6, plus 12. Was I wrong? No. This is -24. This is 18. That does not equal 0. All right. Keep chugging along. 3. 3 cubed is 27. 3 squared is 9 times -4 is -36. 3 times -3 is -9. Plus 12. Hope you're in the mood for math. This is 39. This is -45. It didn't work. -3. -3 cubed is -27. -3 squared is 9 times -4 is -36. Looks like we have way too many negatives here. -3 times -3 is 9 plus 12. Way too many negatives. Here we go. We got to plug in 4. 4 cubed is 64. Now watch this. 4 squared is 16 times -4 is -64. Doesn't this look good? 4 times -3 is -12 plus 12. Finally, these cancel, and we say finally we get something that equals 0. So here's one of my answers. Now here's what I like my students to do. This is the highest power. That's telling us how many answers there's going to be. There's a reason for that, but I'm not going to explain that during this lesson. So I know I've got one of my 3 answers. What do I do with this? Put it in the cheap nest. And this goes in descending order, so we don't have to insert anything ourselves. That's a 1, -4, -3, and 12. So like this, take the first item in the list and just drop it below the line. 4, that'd be 0, multiply, 0, add, multiply, -12, and we get 0. That's good, because what is this? That is essentially 1x squared plus 0x minus 3 equals 0. Now again, once you get to this point, you can factor it, which that's not factorable, complete the square, quadratic formula, or I'm going to add another one. Use a little common sense. And that's what I'm going to do on this problem. because this is the same thing as x squared minus 3 equals 0. Now you could say a is 1, b is 0, c is negative 3, and then plug it all into the quadratic formula. But I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and I'm going to use something I've taught you guys a few times. Bada boom, bada bing, do the right thing. Remember, we have 2 more answers. That's why we got to remember the little quote. Bada boom, bada bing, do the right thing. Because this is plus the square root of 3 and minus the square root of 3. So, what's Schoology going to say? It's probably going to say 4, comma, plus or minus the square root of 3. There's your answer. And there's 3 answers there. One of them is rational. 2 of them are irrational. So if I just kept plugging these in, it would have been a big old waste of time. That's the value of going with synthetic division every time. Okay, 2 more. Hopefully these will go a little faster. So this is my P. So good news, there's only 1 and 3. Here's my Q. So it's plus or minus 1, but it's also plus or minus 2. Remember I said you don't need those plus or minuses. I don't know why I put them in there. So if I just concentrate on this, that spits out plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3. Now, before we include the 2 down here, let's see if any of these work. So we're going to put in 1. 1 cubed is 1 times 2 is 2. 1 squared is 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Minus 3, and it doesn't work. Let's try negative 1. Negative 1 cubed is negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Negative 1 squared is 1. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5 minus 3. That did not work. Too many negatives. Let's try 3. 3 cubed is 27 times 2 is 54. 3 squared is 9. As you can see, we got way too many positives. That's just not going to work. Let's try negative 3. Negative 3 cubed is negative 27 times 2 is negative 54. Negative 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15 minus 3. You can just see this isn't going to work. So we were hoping that 1 and 3 would work. Didn't. That means we got to involve this dang 2 down here. Because if I look at it as 1 over 2, that means I can have plus or minus a half. And then I could have 3 over 2, which is plus or minus 3 halves. And this is a whole bunch of yuck. But this will happen. So we got to tackle it. So we're going to plug in 1/2 to get started, and what a nightmare, huh? What's 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2? That's 2, I'm going to show my work, times 1/8. And then what's 1/2 times 1/2? 1/4. What's 5 times a half? 5 halves. Minus 3. And when you first look at this, you're like, there's no way this is going to work. But this, 2 times 1/8 is actually 2/8 or 1/4 plus 1/4. Now I'm going to find common denominators and make this 10/4. And I'm going to find common denominators with this even and make that negative. I already put minus, so 12/4. Now look at this. That's 12/4 minus 12/4. Unbelievably, this equals 0. So here's one of my answers. How many answers do I need for this problem? 3. So I like to go like this, just to remind myself I'm not done until I found all 3. Here's one of them, but I've got to put that in the cheap nest. Take the coefficients, 2, 1, 5, negative 3. Go like this, drop the 2, multiply, 1/2 times 2 is 1, 1 and 1 is 2. 1/2 times 2 is 1, 5 plus 1 is 6. 1/2 times 6 is 3. Add it and I get 0. So what is this even telling me? Remember the rule. If that's a 3, then this tells me I have 2x squared plus 2x plus 6 equals 0. Now, I'm running out of time, so I have to move fast. I'm going to divide by 2 because I can. X squared plus x plus 3 equals 0. Now, this is not factorable. So my a is 1, my b is 1, and my c is 3. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a, which is 2. Oh my goodness, not going to make it.